Hello, my friends. Welcome to my channel. Everyone says it takes 21 days to build a habit. But what if it takes 30 days to build a new life? Stay till the end, because by the time you finish this video, you'll want to start your 30-day journey today. Success is not something that suddenly appears in your life one morning when you wake up. It is something that grows quietly, one small step at a time. When you start deciding that enough is enough and you finally begin to act. The story of 30 Days of Success goal setting is not about someone else's perfect life or dream achievement. It is about what really happens when an ordinary person decides to test their own limits, when they stop talking about change and start creating it. Imagine this story as a mirror, a reflection of what can happen to anyone who decides to give themselves 30 days to become a little more serious about their own life. Not for fame or approval, but simply to prove to themselves that they can keep a promise. It always starts in a quiet moment, usually when life feels heavy and you are tired of repeating the same days again and again. You scroll through your phone, you look at other people's lives, and you feel that small spark of frustration mixed with hope. That tiny voice inside you whispers that maybe you could do better, maybe you could take control, maybe you could start something that actually matters. And in that small whisper hides the first seed of transformation. You don't need loud motivation. You don't need perfect plans. You don't need the world to notice. You just need to say to yourself, I'm giving myself 30 days to become serious about my own goals. It sounds simple, but that decision changes everything, because once you decide, you can't unsee the potential of who you could become. The first day always feels powerful. You feel like a hero in your own story. You wake up early, you write down your goals, you believe this time it will be different. And for a while, it is. But then the real test comes. The excitement fades, and the world starts testing your commitment. The same distractions that have always controlled you start appearing again. The comfort of your bed feels warmer. The endless scrolling feels easier. The doubts start whispering again that maybe it's not worth it. This is the resistance that separates dreamers from doers. It doesn't come with warning. It just creeps in and tries to pull you back into the version of yourself that you're trying to escape. But when you push through even once, when you refuse to quit even for one day, something changes inside you. You realize that success is not about huge effort. It's about small daily choices repeated with discipline. As the days go on, you begin to notice how difficult it really is to stay consistent. Goal setting sounds easy, but living it is a completely different thing. The world doesn't care about your plan. It only reacts to your actions. You start to understand that writing down your goals doesn't make them real. Doing the work does. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you build a quiet kind of confidence. Not the loud kind that shows off, but the one that whispers, I can trust myself. This trust is the root of all success, because without it, you'll always depend on motivation that never lasts. By the end of the first week, you start to feel doubt. You look at your progress and it doesn't seem big enough. You ask yourself, why do I still feel the same? Is this even working? But progress doesn't always show up on the outside first. It happens silently, deep inside your habits, inside your focus, inside your mindset. The person who keeps going, even when results don't show up, is the one who eventually wins. Every small effort builds invisible strength. The person who can't see this gives up. The person who can believe without proof becomes unstoppable. So you keep going, not because you feel strong, but because you've decided that quitting is not an option anymore. Around the 10th day, something subtle starts to change. You begin to feel a small shift in your energy. You feel a little more in control, a little more focused, a little more aware. You notice that instead of saying, "I have to do this," you start saying, "I want to do this." You start respecting yourself more because you are doing something most people only talk about. You begin to understand that goal setting is not about chasing things. It's about transforming who you are becoming. Every action you take is shaping a new identity. You stop seeing success as something you must reach and start seeing it as something you are already building. With growth comes loneliness. Around this time, you notice that not everyone around you understands what you're doing. Some people start joking about your seriousness. Some people stop calling as often because you no longer waste time the same way. You begin to feel a quiet distance between the old world and the new one you're trying to create. It's not that you've become arrogant. It's just that you've started to care more about your future than your comfort. Growth often feels lonely because not everyone is meant to walk with you to the next level. You start learning to enjoy your own company, your own silence, your own progress. You stop seeking validation and start creating inner peace. That's when you realize how powerful you've become. At the halfway point, around the 15th day, things become harder again. You are no longer at the exciting beginning, but you're not yet at the finish line either. This is the stage where many people quit because it feels endless. You've changed some habits, but the results still don't look dramatic. The mind starts playing tricks again, telling you maybe this isn't worth the effort. But you remind yourself that you've already come this far, and you can't go back to who you were before. You've already seen a glimpse of what you can be when you stay consistent, and that's enough reason to continue. You learn to move forward without the need to feel inspired. You do it because it's who you are becoming. Somewhere after the 18th day, things begin to flow. You stop needing motivation because you've built something better. Momentum. You don't have to push yourself as hard anymore because your new habits start carrying you forward naturally. You feel stronger, calmer, more focused. You start doing the right things without forcing yourself, and that's when you realize that discipline eventually turns into freedom. You no longer feel trapped by laziness or distraction. You start to feel proud, not for results, but for consistency. That's when you start to understand that the real reward of goal setting isn't success itself. It's the person you become in the process of chasing it. By the 20th day, your entire mindset shifts. You stop saying, "I'm trying to change," because you already are changing. You stop talking about what you want to become, and you start living as that person every day. You stop searching for shortcuts. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. You start taking full responsibility for your progress. You don't seek validation anymore because you understand that success doesn't need an audience. It only needs effort. You feel more connected to your purpose because now your goals are not just ideas. They're part of your daily identity. The small routines that once felt boring now feel like power moves that shape your future. But life loves to test people who are serious about change. Around the 23rd day, something usually happens that tries to shake your consistency. Maybe you lose motivation. Maybe something goes wrong. Maybe you feel tired or emotionally low. The test doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to see if you've really changed. Old habits start knocking again, but this time, you don't let them in. You remember that setbacks are not failures. They are training. Every obstacle that tries to stop you becomes proof of how strong your new mindset has become. You stay calm. You adapt. You move forward anyway. That's when you realize that the biggest difference between your old self and your new self is that now you don't give up when things get hard. By the 25th day, you begin to see what success really looks like. It's not in big achievements, it's in small details. You notice how your mornings feel more peaceful, how your focus is sharper, how you speak to yourself with more kindness. You realize that success is not about reaching one big goal. It's about becoming the kind of person who keeps showing up no matter what. You start to fall in love with the process. You enjoy progress more than perfection. You realize that the biggest victory is being able to control your mind when everything else tries to distract you. Around the 27th day, you discover the real meaning of consistency. You understand that every time you kept going when you didn't want to, you were building trust with yourself. For years, you may have promised yourself things and never followed through. But now, you've proved that you can. That trust becomes your foundation. It's the kind of confidence that doesn't need to be shown off because it lives inside you quietly. You no longer doubt your ability to follow through because you've seen yourself do it for almost a month. And once you learn to trust yourself, you become powerful beyond measure. As you approach the 30th day, you start to reflect on everything. You remember the first day when you made the decision. You remember the days when you almost gave up. You remember the nights when you stayed focused even when no one noticed. And now, here you are, not perfect, not finished, but transformed. The biggest change happened inside your mindset. You've learned that success isn't about talent, luck, or timing. It's about showing up every single day, even when it's boring, even when it's hard, even when no one is watching. You've learned that small steps create big changes. You've learned that effort compounds, that energy grows, and that belief strengthens through action. On the 30th day, you wake up and realize something amazing. This is not the end of a challenge. It's the beginning of a new lifestyle. You no longer need to force yourself to chase goals. You've become the kind of person who naturally moves toward progress. You don't feel like you're fighting yourself anymore. You feel aligned, peaceful, and focused. You've turned success from a dream into a habit. That's when you understand the deepest truth of all. Success isn't something you chase. It's something you build, slowly, patiently, through discipline and self-respect. After the 30 days, the story doesn't stop. It continues in your daily life. You start noticing that you make better decisions without overthinking. You start setting new goals, not out of desperation, but out of confidence. You realize that if you could stay consistent for 30 days, you could stay consistent for 60, for 90, for a lifetime. You understand that time doesn't create success. Direction does. As long as you keep moving forward, even slowly, you will always be ahead of who you used to be. You don't need perfect conditions anymore because you've learned to create progress in any condition. You've learned to move even when motivation is gone. That is true strength. You start seeing that the world around you hasn't changed much, but you have. You react differently, you think differently, you carry yourself differently. You feel calm in situations that used to make you anxious. You feel focused in moments that used to distract you. You don't get lost in temporary feelings anymore because you know what matters most is the bigger picture. You understand that success isn't about one big victory. It's about thousands of small disciplined choices that no one sees, and that's when you realize you don't need anyone's approval. You are enough. And you always were. You just needed to prove it to yourself through action. 30 days may not sound like a long time, but it's enough to change your direction completely. It's enough to show you the truth about success, that it's not built in one day, but in daily repetition. You've discovered that the hardest battle was never against the world, it was against your own mind. Once you win that, nothing can stop you. You stop waiting for motivation because you've learned that action creates motivation, not the other way around. You stop comparing yourself to others because you've realized that your only competition is the person you were yesterday. You stop doubting your future because you've learned that the only thing you truly control is today. Now when you look back, you don't feel regret for the time you wasted before. You feel proud for the time you finally used wisely. You understand that 1 month of focus can change a lifetime of excuses. You understand that success is not about achieving everything. It's about becoming someone who never stops improving. You no longer fear failure because you've learned that failure is just feedback, a guide showing where to grow next. You don't crave easy paths anymore because you've seen that growth lives in discomfort. You don't seek external rewards because the internal peace of knowing you kept your word to yourself is worth more than anything else. That is what 30 days of real goal setting gives you, not perfection, but transformation. It doesn't make you a millionaire or a genius, but it makes you someone who can depend on themselves. It teaches you that discipline is freedom, that consistency is power, and that small daily victories build unstoppable momentum. It teaches you that life doesn't change when you wish for it. It changes when you work for it. And once you taste that progress, you never go back to your old ways because the feeling of control, focus, and peace is too powerful to lose. So the story of 30-day success goal setting is not about finishing something. It's about starting to live differently. It's about building self-respect through daily effort. It's about realizing that your dreams don't need a miracle, they need commitment. And commitment is born when you stop talking and start doing. The person who truly understands this will never need another motivational video again, because their own results will speak louder than any words. 30 days may seem short, but it is enough to prove that you can change your entire direction if you decide to. The rest of your life is just a continuation of that decision. You don't need perfect circumstances, just consistent action. You don't need to know everything, just to start. And you don't need to wait for the right time, because the right time is always now. And so, this story ends not with a celebration, but with a reminder. You have the same 24 hours as everyone else. The same opportunity to decide, to act, to change. 30 days can pass whether you use them or not. The difference is what you choose to do with them. Success is not built by those who wish, but by those who start. And once you start, once you keep going, once you prove to yourself that you can stay consistent, you realize something powerful. The life you want has always been waiting for you, right behind your discipline. All you ever had to do was begin and never stop.